Hey, so we're back. You're listening to KHTS AM 1220. If you wanted to give us a call, it's 661-298-5487. Today we're talking about not going online to check out all your symptoms that you might think you have, some kind of major issue, and really it's just a headache. But instead, head to a doctor. Get yourself a doctor. And if you live in Santa Clarita, we're lucky enough to have Dr. Jenkins here in his own practice called My Doctor. And he's literally my doctor and has been since I was 9 years old, I'm very proud to say. And I mean, there are so many times that you've eased my fears, eased my tensions. I can go in and talk to you about anything. I think we're really fortunate to have you here. So anybody that's in the Santa Clarita Valley that doesn't know this guy, my doc, this is my doc, Dr. Jenkins.
Well, give us a call because we have some information if you call us. Just call us and ask a question, and we'll see if we can help you with it.
And give us your website again.
It's GregoryJenkinsMD.com.
Awesome. Okay.
My mother used to always said I should promote myself, but I'm not that good at it.
Well, because you're a really humble, natural guy. You're just who you are. So it's going to be my job to promote you.
I've been voted best doctor in the community for many times.
Look how humble he is.
I didn't vote for myself. Maybe just at once.
Yes, actually, I see that in your office a lot. It's that blue ribbon, and it says the voted best doctor Santa Clarita, right?
Right.
How many times?
Internist. Lots of times.
Oh my gosh. I'm so lucky to have you as my doc. Yay. Well, so see, I get to promote you today. That's awesome. And for anybody that, has been listening to the first part of the show and might have a similar story to me where you have a child that had a fever one night and you read all these horrible things online that made you feel like your child might have RSV or, some terrible thing that you have to rush to the emergency room for. I got off the sauce and stopped doing that a long time ago because I realized. What do you mean by
the sauce?
Well, that old expression, get off the sauce if you're.
I think that means like quit drinking.
Yeah. So
that means okay.
It's get off the thing that you're addicted to.
Oh, okay.
And these days, that's being online. And for some people, that's being online and checking every single little symptom as you have it. And that was me for the first year of motherhood. If he went, I was like, oh my God, okay, so he had this issue earlier in the day and he looks a little bit. So when you're reading and it says, if they have a yellow tinge to their skin, I'm looking at his skin and all of a sudden I am making myself see that he has yellow skin, even if he doesn't. That is hypochondria.
Hypochondria by proxy.
Right. And that's exactly it. You're looking into these things and it's making you develop a psychological issue. You don't have one. So, and you're looking online maybe because you feel like you have one. It'll make you feel like you do. It's terrible. It's a vicious cycle. Get off the sauce. It's
very easy to find a doctor that you can see and ask the question so that you'll have relief. Because, that's the thing with the anxiety is you never can sleep at night. Everything's racing. Do I have this disease? Or do I have this illness? Or do I have this? And if you find out, then you won't be as anxious.
My friend always had a fear that she said her biggest fear was that she was going to be sick and all alone.
When she's 80 or
no, I don't even think it had an age on it. I think she just had this irrational fear of being alone and being ill and not having anybody to take care of her.
See, that's another issue for you.
But I'll tell you what, it actually turned around better for her because she ended up getting a doctor she trusts. She knows everything that goes on in her body all the time. She's not overly obsessive about it. It's eased a lot of tension for her.
True.
It was not going into the doctor that caused a lot of anxiety. What could be wrong with me? And then going online and seeing all these things that are totally unrelated from God knows what source would make that worse. And that's what we're addressing today.
Well, it's interesting that people sometimes finally get to the emergency room or finally get to the doctor and they're really sick and they all night they've been laying there fighting it. I'm not that sick. I'm not going to throw up. I'm not going to have a heart attack. I'm not. They finally make it to my office or the emergency room, and as soon as they get in there, we put them in the room, they collapse. They're 911 out of there because they were having a heart attack, but they didn't really want to go to the doctor in the emergency room.
There's nothing wrong with me. I can make
it. It's just this.
Right.
So when you start having symptoms, you really should call your doctor, see a doctor, go to the emergency room.
That's my mom right there. My mom is the type that's like, it's just a leg ache. God, there's nothing wrong with me. It's fine. It's sciatica.
I can wait till tomorrow.
Right? And she waited way too long. Now my mom has sciatica. But, if she'd come to you way earlier, you could have have said physical therapy. You could have gotten on it way before it got worse, kind of thing. So that's just one issue. And if it's a degenerative disease, those are either rapid or slow onset, either one, but you're constantly just becoming more and more of that disease. It's eating away at you.
Right.
So the earlier you can get in, the better. And you won't be able to detect that online, regardless of how good you are at looking up symptoms. So this article here that I have pulled up, it's 5 ways. They've actually marked out 5 mistakes that people make when diagnosing themselves online. Do you want to hear it?
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, they say the first one is we search blind. What this means is there's a lot of bad information on the web and information that is not true, and that can be really dangerous. So you have to consider where the source is coming from in the first place. Doctors that consulted over this article urge users to favor web addresses ending in .org and .edu. So be aware of whatever you're looking at, if the website is .org or .edu, if you're looking at health-related info.
Yeah, a lot of times the pharmacies put those things up so that people think they're actually talking to a medical professional, but really it's a marketing issue for
still a problem then.
Whatever drug that they're selling.
Okay, so
I'm not a great lover of the drug business.
Me neither. No, I think it's all about money these days.
That's why I don't see drug reps in the office, because each of those salespeople are making $100,000.
Yeah.
So I say, well, maybe just make the prices lower, and people can afford to buy the pills.
It's not about the people anymore, though. I mean, you have a lot of integrity in your practice. That you are your own little entity. You don't have to answer to anybody. You can do what you want. Basically, you don't have to take the side of the devil, which I really believe is the FDA these days.
Right.
So, you want to make sure where you're getting those sources from online. And as Dr. Jenkins just said, there's so much information from organizations trying to sell products or push their agenda.
Right.
So you just want to make sure of where you're getting that propaganda, and if it's propaganda or the real deal.
And they're all tied into the internet so much. So if you type in, name of the medicine, for weeks you'll have that medicine will pop up, and you're looking at Google or something.
Isn't that scary? Don't you find that really scary? Any search you do online.
They're all data miners. They're just mining the information, and they're pushing it around.
That is so scary.
And even with your credit cards, they know what you buy, and they send you information.
We're all being watched.
So that's why this switch subject a little bit, but for email address, I think you need 3. One is for junk mail. So if you go to some place and you have to buy something, they want your email address.
Yeah.
And then they'll send you things forever you don't want.
Oh, I've stopped giving my email address randomly.
Yeah.
It's enough already.
And that's one. The second one you want to have is one for your family that only your family gets into. And your other one is your work email. And never mix those numbers up, because you start getting so much stuff.
I do. I have 15,000 emails.
Every time you sign up for something, they save that. So always have separate family one, and always have a separate work one.
I get so much of that stuff. My husband just looked at my email a few months ago and said, how do you have 15,000? No wonder you have no room on your computer. I'm like, it's all spam. It's all things that I'm not aware of who these people are that are sending me stuff that I somehow got on their mailing list.
Whenever you buy something online, they ask your email address, and it comes back to haunt you.
And then what I have to do is go through 15,000 emails and weed out the 100 that are actually relevant to my life from people that I actually know.
Just get a separate website, separate email address.
I just have to delete everything.
Right. But back to our topic, I guess.
Well, but so have you actually ever seen somebody that came into the doctor for the first time, came into you for the first time, and they hadn't seen a doctor in years? They've only been diagnosing themselves online. And, I mean, first of all, that's a question in and of itself. Has somebody like that ever come into your office?
It has, yeah. People come in and they say, I went on the internet, and I saw this, so I tried what they said to do. I took the vitamins, drank the vinegar, or whatever.
And it made me sicker.
And I'm not really getting better, so I want a second opinion. So I am sometimes
So you become the second opinion.
I'm the internet second opinion.
So you hear that? We're now in a day and age where a doctor is the internet's second opinion. How do you feel about that?
Patients. I'm glad patients take the time to come in, because we can make them better.
Those who do, yeah, and that's why we're having the show today. I mean, this show was given to us as an idea, and I thought it was a great idea. Especially, I think there's a generational thing as well regarding it. A friend of mine was dating someone in their early 20s who never went to the doctor and only looked online, and gave a very passionate argument about why they wouldn't want want to go to the doctor. It's such a mess. It's such a pain. How do I get into one anyway? I don't know if I want to trust somebody like that. Who would I know how to trust? Like, online, it's so much easier. I can just go on any time of the day or night and see what I've got. And it's like, yeah, but you're looking up that you have, tumors. If you've had just like a headache, why don't you just go to the doctor for the headache? But she was very impassioned about her argument about how hard it was to get into the doctor. So maybe it's a millennial thing as well. I don't know. What do you think?
They do have online doctors now, so that you pay so much money, and you Facebook each other, Skype each other, however you want to do it, and you ask the questions, and they'll look at move the camera close to your mouth, which I think is not a good.
How do you really do
not
that?
A good example. Sometimes my friend is calling me or send me pictures. Hey, I cut my hand. What do you think I should do? I says, well, I really can't tell how deep it is. I see a lot of blood.
So do people like solicit free medical advice from you all the time?
Not all the time. My friends, I don't care.
I get that all the time in my profession.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, my boyfriend just broke up with me and I'm really sad, and what should I do? It's like, okay, well, you can book a session, or we can sit here for an hour and I can help you get better, which I often do, by the way. Like, I should start labeling these things pro bono, but it's just who I am, right? And you have all this information inside of you that people just, hey, doc, can you just look at that finger real quick? Just tell me if there's something wrong with that. You get that a lot? Rather than people actually making an appointment, coming in to see you.
Not so much. I mean, my friends that I know very well, I don't mind if they call.
Right. And those are friends, though. I'm talking about people we don't know.
People I don't know.
Okay. I mean, they know you're a professional. They know you're a doctor. That's all the information they would need to be like, look at this finger.
I do remember one time out at the baseball field, a parent came to me and they coughed up something in the napkin. I said, what do you think it is? I go, oh, that is gross. Get away. I still remember it's so gross, this big old green ugly thing in there,
You're like, do you see me in my white coat? Right.
Yeah.
This is a baseball cap, not a white coat. Not in the office right now. So that's what their first one was, is we're searching blind because we really don't see where the sources of the information are coming from, of what we look up, okay? Another one is called flailing in forums. Okay, so this one I can personally attest to as well. Forums.
Right.
It can be a wonderful thing when you read on forums, say that you have a child. This is what I did personally. I had a baby, so I went on to one of those big baby forums. I can't remember the name of it now.
Baby forums. I don't know.
It was a baby forum with a lot of moms writing in and some doctors writing in, or they said there were doctors. You can never tell. But I thought forums were really helpful for me when I was going through my first 2 years of motherhood. Questions that I'd had, that I just in general wanted to hear other parents talk about. And some of those, most of them, are not going to be relatable to what your issue is, but some of them are, if you read carefully enough through them. And if you hear somebody's story that's like yours, you automatically feel a connection. You automatically feel better, even if the content of, that they're actually talking about is not so great. You feel that connection. You feel like, okay, I'm not the only one. What did they go through? Is it something I'm going through? So those forums can be really great, but then there's a flip side to it, and it's a dangerous one, which is there are trolls. These internet trolls. The lurkers. And they purposely go onto these forums, type in some crazy story that they've made up just to freak you out. And it sounds really legitimate, and it sounds really, like, oh my God, that could happen? This happened to them? Is this going to happen to me? And you're freaking out already, which is why you're on this forum to find somebody that's had a similar experience. But now you're hearing this person who may or may not be true telling you a story that may or may not be true about something terrible that happened to them, on your level or worse, and now you're freaking out. So why would we do that to ourselves?
Well, occasionally I have patients go to those forums, but it's for things that are so rare that the disease is almost like an orphan. And it's better for the other people that feel, there's so many people on this forum that they've all had different experiences, and what did you try and what did you try? So I think that's helpful. I've frequently sent patients to this dizziness forum because inner ear is hard to fix it. So people say, well, I tried this, and people try them, and some people get better. So I think that's something good for forums.
That would be good. And then you just brought up something that's not so good, which is, if somebody took this one pill for the issue, or somebody took this one other kind of medication or this other kind of treatment for the issue, that may have worked for them. But every person's different physiologically.
There's always a caveat, yeah.
Right, but I mean, every single person's makeup, every single person's story, even if they have the same diagnosis potentially, is different. So that pill could have worked for them, and you read that whole thing on the forum and you go, okay, so that pill's going to work for me. And you're not seeing a doctor to, or even a second opinion doctor to go and see that through. And you take that pill, you take that vitamin, you take that ointment, whatever it is, and you don't know if that's going to work for you because your physiological makeup or maybe your stage in the disease is a totally different thing.
Right.
So it can actually hinder you more than anything. The best thing to do would just be come in and see you, get checked up,
Yeah.
or any doctor.
I don't know if you remember, there was a movie about a family had a handicapped boy, and what the boy needed was some unusual type of chemical. So on the forums, they figured out what the chemical was, and then they learned how to produce it, and finally got this oil. It was something. The name of the movie is Somebody's Oil, and Jordan's Oil, or something like that, and it actually helped him. So I think the forums can be good, but there's always the caveats.
And that's the caveat is the most important part, isn't it? Because
Right.
the differences between
just
us.
because it's on the internet doesn't mean it's correctly, right? Just in the print, it may not be correct.
And just because it worked for one person doesn't mean it's going to work for you. And until you get checked up, you don't know what your levels are. Maybe you have a hormonal imbalance.
Right.
This goes to women as well. There are forums dedicated to menopause. There are forums dedicated to women using birth control, women talking to other women about what birth control worked for them, women talking to other women about what abortion method worked best for them, women talking to other women about what is working for them in menopause. There are so many women's health issues that are not being properly answered, by medical professionals that you can really trust online, unless you go to like a specific site and you can trust it, tried and true. This article says go to Mayo Clinic. That's one good source online where you can be sure that anything that's written through Mayo Clinic has been written by a medical professional. It's been, it's a journal article. It's been peer reviewed. It's scholastically reviewed. I mean, it's empirically validated research. These are things that you would want to look into. But just to hear other women's stories about what abortion method worked best for them, what pill worked best for them through contraception, that's for them. It's not necessarily for you.
Yeah.
And so this is what a lot of us are falling into the trap of these days, is we're reading these forums, we're feeling connected to the stories, whether they're true or not, which we can't even, validate. And then we are buying or we're getting ourselves the pills that they say that have worked for them, and it may be causing more detriment.
Right.
So
and I have to apologize for many physicians who do not want to take on difficult cases. They want the bread and butter, just something simple, come and go, and cost, it's the same office charge, for doing that as one actually trying to help somebody. So I have to apologize for dogs. But for me, I always want to make people better. I want to find out what's wrong with them and make them better.
Well, you've got the heart left in the profession. Maybe one of those few out there. That's why we're so lucky in Santa Clarita to have Dr. Jenkins. I really think that you treat people as people.
Right.
They're not numbers, and you refuse to actually go that direction as well. So let me just get through the rest of this this list here. We've got 23% of social network users have followed a friend's health experiences online. 34% of internet users have read about someone else's medical issues on news groups, websites, or blogs and followed that advice without seeing a doctor. So that's what we were just talking about. 34%. So the other thing is, obviously, when we read through these forums, we're emotionally invested. Obviously, we're feeling vulnerable. So anybody with a similar story to us, even if it sounds similar, we're going to feel emotionally invested in. So we're going to listen to that more than go to our own doctor if we do have one even. And the last thing is just keeping track on the right apps. There are apps called Blood Note and Tap and Track that if you needed to keep track of your blood pressure, your weight, heart rate, and other areas that particularly concern you, you can do these yourself. You can actually track them yourself and then go to your doctor, go to Dr. Jenkins, go to my doc, and have him test those levels for you if you're the type of person that wants to look yourself, so that we don't create more hypochondria, we don't create more of that little anxiety gremlin in our stomachs, and, we're going for the right reasons to the doctor.
And quickly, I'd say that there are labs, most labs have a way that you can just go as an individual and say, I want to get this test done. They don't interpret it, if you just want to know what the number is, it's done plenty of times.
That's great to know. Thanks, my doc.
Okay.
All right. Well, you guys have been listening to KHTS AM 1220. Thanks so much for joining us today. We'll see you next week with another interesting topic from the MD
One more segment.
The PhD to B, which is actually PsyD.
Yeah.
I'm going to be going for my PsyD, which is not lab-based, right? Okay. Well, that's cool too. So we're not signing off yet. We're going to break.
We're going to break. That's what I'm trying to say.
So if you still want to call, you can call 661-298-5487. Let us know if you have something of interest to talk about with this.
Okay.
See you in a minute. My doc just said something really cute about himself when I asked him, who does he go to as a doctor? And he's like, well, myself, but I also see a cardiologist once a year, or what is that?
That's right,
yeah.
once a year.
And I said, oh, okay, so you don't actually diagnose yourself with anything. He's like, yeah, well, I'm more of a wear and tear guy. I was like, what's that?
A bad knee and a bad back and those kind of things. Just getting old, that's
Just
all.
so maintenance, basically.
Maintenance.
You take the car into the shop if it has something wrong with its tire.
That's right.
But not to get regular checkups. You're generally
you mean
healthy guy.
The car? I'm talking about myself. I just go see the car that's once a year for a checkup. And
I was
do a
using your
treadmill.
body like a car, I mean.
Right.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about the car. Oh, I get the oil change, yeah.
Yeah, you're a pretty healthy guy then.
That's
But
right.
What does it take to...
Robust.
Okay, so give listeners some ideas about how they can stay healthy and up on what's going on in their bodies without freaking themselves out online and going to see a doctor, and without being a hypochondriac about it.
Wow.
How do you...
That's a lot of requirements.
How do you just become aware enough of your body and vitals that you're not being obsessive, running to the doctor every 5 seconds or online?
Well, I think that you have to know what normal is. So if you see your doctor and get a complete checkup and everything's perfect, that's your normal. If that changes, then you should try to find out what is causing it.
That's a really good place to start then, is find out what your normal is, right? So then if you go and say that you haven't been to the doctor in 20 years and I come into your office because I've heard this great show promoting your fantastic private practice that you have, and I come in and I go and see you and we get a full checkup done. Yeah.
Sometimes when people come in, we do the workup and they're just there for a physical, and I say, well, it looks like your liver's a little bit irritated, and they go, oh, that's always that way. Here's a record for my last 10 visits or whatever, and that's the way they are. And not everybody's textbook, not everybody falls within the bell curve. So it's good to have that information. So just get a checkup once a year. Make sure you get your flu shot once a year.
So is it true, though, that the flu shot gives you a little bit of the flu?
No. The old ones did.
Is that an urban myth?
Well, the old ones actually did, because they were live vaccine. You don't remember, but in the old days, when they used to give polio shots, they weren't shots. They would kind of, on your arm, they would take a needle and dip it in the polio vaccine. And
sounds terrible.
Make little pinches of it. And that when you got a little bit of sick from it. Same with the old vaccine for the flu.
Because it would build up your immunity towards
They was actually a live vaccine, very, very low dose. So you could get the infection. But the new ones are more like allergy shots. So if you're allergic to dog hair, you get a dog hair shot every so often until you get immune to it. So by taking the influenza shot, the new ones, you get it really early, like in July and in October, and you get the shot and your body builds up an immunity to it. So people don't get sick if they've actually had the shots, and they don't get sick from the shot. Actually, the literature says 1 out of 100,000. So that's, I don't know, 100,000 people.
Right.
Yeah. So
that's good to know.
So you should not be worried about it.
That's really good to know, because that's one of the reasons.
You took your son to get a shot? You weren't
the
worried
flu
about
shot?
it?
I don't think I gave him a flu shot this year. He's fully vaccinated. He has all of his shots, but
Okay.
I didn't give him a flu shot this year.
Well, he needs some at 5.
5. Well, he's only 3.
Well, I need some at 4. But I was thinking he was 4. But he should get a flu shot, because when he's
Is
sick.
3 too young to get a flu shot?
No. They have special pediatric doses for this.
Okay, so I'll get him a flu shot. Oh,
Flu's
pediatric
flu's almost over now.
doses.
You do it in October.
Okay, so next year when he's 4.
Halloween time is when you get the
Next
shot.
next year when he's 4.
Halloween.
You see? Okay, the kind of conversation we just had is the kind of conversation you and I usually have when I come into your office for a checkup.
Right. That's true.
I get so much information going in to see my doc. Okay, so that's the point of today's show, is that even if you think it's a big pain in the butt to go find a doctor, if you live in Santa Clarita, it certainly shouldn't be, because we've got my doctor right here, my doc, Dr. Jenkins, on his website. You can come and find him, make an appointment. You've also got lots of different resources online that will help you find a doctor. There's one called ZocDoc, which makes it super easy, and doctors pay to be listed on it, just like what you were talking about earlier. You can set up an appointment ASAP. So there's really no excuse these days to wait to see a doctor, to not go see a doctor, to use the internet as a first reference, and then the actual live doctors as a second opinion. So I hope that, you guys feel a little bit better about going in to see a doctor today. Go see my doc in Santa Clarita. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you next time.